Happy Wednesday night, and more importantly, happy Stitch Day. It's 626 if you're watching this live, so happy Stitch Day to all of you out there. In honor of Stitch Day, we are going to be reviewing Stitch the movie, not Lilo and Stitch, but Stitch the movie. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to WDWNT TV for more great content, and of course, give us a thumbs up as it helps people to find us. So, with this being, as soon as I figured out that Deep in the Plus was going to be on the same night as June 26, 626, man, I was excited. I was like, we got to do a review. And the first person I thought of, and I was like, this is my dream pick. If I was casting my dream pick, my bestie, my brother, Mr. Jake Woods. What's going on, fella?
Hey guys, how are y'all?
Just
happy 626 Day.
You know what, my friend? No one celebrates 626 Day like you do. My kids get so excited that Jake is so into Stitch, and let's just take a look at the background here real quick. Good golly, man, you have done it up. Never has a background been so Stitchified that I've ever seen. That is awesome, man. And I know this is like a fragment of your collection, I'm sure.
Just a smidge.
Yeah. All right.
There may be things also that you don't see on camera.
Yeah. Also, he wanted to keep this a surprise, so I see a lot of people going, called it. We knew it. It was going to be him. It's fine. But, dude, brother, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. But I got to ask you, man, like, I have never met someone who is as into Stitch as you are, and you are brand loyal. You're like one IP guy. I mean, I know you like a whole bunch of stuff and Figment and Disney and all that, but you're just Stitch. Where did you get the passion for Stitch?
I just fell in love with the movie when I saw it in theaters. I saw the trailer for it and thought that it looked fun, and I liked the art style of it, and had no idea walking into that theater that I was going to just fall head over heels for it. But I watched it. I walked out of the theater, and I went home and was like, I want to see that again. And I just ended up, I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theaters 5 times.
Oh, is that all?
And yeah, just 5 times, but I made up for it with my Kazaa version of Lilo and Stitch until it came out on DVD.
Okay.
And
nice.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
So, dude, so Stitch is, to me, such a, I don't even know what to say. He's such a departure for Disney in so many ways, because this was back in the time when we had the rebirth of Disney that was The Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King and musicals, and then here comes this little alien dude with his little girlfriend, and they're hanging out, and I just was like, this is very unusual, and I loved every bit of it as well. But obviously I didn't get hooked as much as you did, but he is kind of an honorary Fab Five member, isn't he? Because if you look at like merchandising,
I think so.
Yeah. So
I mean, he's all over the place.
True. But he's like, you got Mickey and Minnie and Goofy and Donald and Daisy and Pluto, which is actually 6 at that point, not 5 because of Daisy, and then you got Chip and Dale and Stitch, and maybe throw in Tinkerbell, and that's kind of like all the merch has that to do with it. And I see again, with your merch, you've got all that stuff. I only have a few choice things over here. I have a oversized Tsum Tsum, and then I have the Nuemo, and then I have the Wishable up here and a Pop. We've got more stuff in the house. I just couldn't put my hands on it, but not, again, nowhere near in the class that you've got. So, but 626
I was like, I've got a small office, so I can't completely fill it up. I gotta have room to work. Man.
Yeah, no, I get you. But I love your commitment to it. I love that you take Stitch to the Magic Kingdom and y'all get your picture taken. You still have that picture that y'all took today? Do you have that you could pull up?
Yeah, let me.
because I mean, again, I look forward to seeing that. Like you and I are connected on. There he is. Look at that, Stitch, and Jake, and Stitch, and lots of Stitch. That's awesome. I feel like Stitch like probably looks forward to seeing you every year. But dude, the other thing is I'm realizing I couldn't put my hands on any pictures of me and Stitch. Like I think I have a ton
Oh,
of my
really?
son, but like I don't have as much of me. So next time I'm down, you and me, right? Like we'll get our picture taken
We'll
with
do
Stitch.
it.
You know where to find him.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
we'll go to Ohana.
yeah, that would be great. Ohana means family, and family means no one gets left behind.
Or
Or
forgotten.
forgotten. Yes. So you said Lilo and Stitch. That was the one you fell in love with. My friend Maleko, who
Yes.
is from Hawaii, he and I talked about that one already. So it makes sense to go to the next piece in this puzzle, which was again, which was Stitch the movie. But you know what?
Yes.
Stitch the movie was straight to video, so it wasn't a theater film. But because of the animation style of the original movie, I feel like the animation keeps pretty tight. A lot of that straight to DVD stuff that Disney Toon did looked like TV animation. But this one, I feel
It
like
did.
animation wise, they're close. And you think it's because Chris Sanders was involved still?
I think so. I think that it was such a it's such a distinctive like art style. Chris's art style it just really stands out. You see it and you're like that's got to be Chris Sanders. And just the rounded edges, like I believe when he talked about Lilo and Stitch, he said that basically you take the character and you stick a straw in them and then just kind of blow a little and it just inflates them just a hair. And that's his art style. And like you can pick it out in a second and it's really kind of stands out against all the other animation.
Yeah, no, I agree. It looks very, very unique. For those of you who don't know, Chris Sanders wrote the screenplay for Mulan. Then they were like, "Hey, we're gonna do this movie, or we're gonna do your movie that he wrote, Stitch." And he also became the voice of Stitch, so he was the director and the voice of Stitch. And then he went on to do a little something called How to Train Your Dragon, which I know
Yes.
you always refer to Toothless as Stitch's brother.
Stitch's cousin.
Stitch's cousin. Well, I mean, that actually falls into place with what we're talking about here tonight because we're talking about
Of
Stitch the
course.
series, and that's really the whole meat of this movie. Is it was an introduction. Again, it's so brilliant. It was an introduction to this whole universe. We're going, hey, wait a minute. Stitch is 626. Where are like 1 through 625? And so the idea of doing this as a movie to introduce the whole thing and then following it up with Stitch the series that came after it was brilliant. And I
Hmm.
feel like they had content for years and they only did 2 seasons of Stitch the series.
That was the Eisner era, 86 episodes. That's all you get, and it fell under that regime and took the consequences of it. But what a cool way to do a pilot, to do a full movie.
Yeah.
I believe the only other one that they did that way was uh, Buzz Lightyear. I think Buzz Lightyear
Yeah.
had a movie intro for the TV series.
There was, yeah.
I think these were the two ones that they did as a film to pilot a TV show.
Well, and the other cool thing about the series, and we're not going to talk about the series, but I don't know how you talk about Stitch the movie and you don't talk about the series, is that they had all of these cool crossovers with the Proud Family and Kim Possible, and it's just like, okay, that's awesome that they're mixing the worlds of Disney animation, which we've seen in other places before, but I feel like it was really cool to see it here. A friend of mine and I did a review a while ago of the entire Kim Possible series, and we came over to this episode of Stitch from the series because this episode called Rufus, because again, it was really a cool tie-in. I love that they did that.
Yeah, I didn't watch the Disney Channel that much during that era, but I know some of them, and I remember seeing them on the show and going, "Oh, I should check that out."
Yeah.
I haven't watched that show before.
When it ended, they ended it with a movie too. That was pretty unique. Stitch 2, Stitch
Oh,
Has a
for
Glitch.
sure.
So it was really kind of a bookend. The original Lilo and Stitch movie came out in 2002. Stitch the movie came out in 2003. The series went from 2003 to 2004, and then in 2004 we had or 2005 we had Stitch 2, and then a few years later, or 1 year later, we had Leroy and Stitch. So that was basically from 2002 to 2006. That must have been your heyday in the fact that there was always going to be Stitch content there. And then now nothing. Why has it been 18 years since we've had any? I mean, we've got DisneyPlus. Why don't we have something with Stitch?
Well, supposedly we're getting this this live action, so hopefully that'll be the restart of it.
Well, I want to ask your opinion about
Which-
that at the end, because I definitely want to get kind of a Stitch lover's take on it. But again, let's talk about this movie. So the movie Stitch the movie, again, it's really, we're calling it a movie. It's an hour and 4 minutes. It's almost like we've put together 2 episodes length of the TV series, and the summary says as easily as this: Stitch tries to save his intergalactic cousins from evil Captain Gantu. I don't know that Gantu's all that evil. I feel like he's kind of a pushover. I think Hämsterviel is the real villain here.
Yeah, he's kind of a henchman, basically.
Yeah. But before this, we didn't know who Hämsterviel is. So they invent Dr. Hämsterviel as the villain, and he's a hamster, but he's hamster-like. And then they make all these jokes about him being like, like a gerbil. But his ship looks like a habit trail ball, and I think it was really like very tongue-in-cheek, well done the way they put this thing together.
I love the bubblers on the back of it. That always cracks me up when it comes in.
And it's making these little bubbles here.
Yeah, it looks like a hamster waterer. But
I didn't even pay attention the first time I ever saw this, that it looked like that hamster ball that they kind of roll in like in Bolt, which I know is a sore subject for you, but because Chris Sanders had started that project. Anyway, so as it starts, Gantu is there and meets up with Hämsterviel, which they seem to have some kind of a pre-existing knowledge of each other. Hämsterviel wants to hire him to go get something from Jumba. We don't know what, but to go get something from Jumba. Jumba, Pleakly, Stitch, they're all on Earth. They are right where we left them at the end of Lilo and Stitch. And again, I love the chronology of it all working together. And then we find out that it's basically this gumball machine of dehydrated cousins. And they set it up that Stitch is having a hard time fitting in on Earth because the regular people don't really care for him. And so the fact that he finds out he has the possibility of like relatives becomes a big deal for him. So the gumball machine thing I think is kind of funny. And then in the series it ends up that I think Gantu has it, but it basically is this thing where you touch it and it will tell you about the cousins and their number and what things that they can do. And then the series, they try to place them all in like kind of like foster homes or something like that, and finding a place and a job for each of them.
The one place where each belongs.
Yes. It is really a neat concept, and the fact that, I don't know, it feels like a better concept to me for a TV show. And again, I'm leaning into the series, but it feels like a better concept to me for a TV show than any other that I've seen before, like Tailspin. Like, what the heck? Like, not that I don't love Tailspin, but they're coming completely out of Jungle Book and using Jungle Book characters dressed up and running like, a business. Same thing with Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and that was kind of the vibe of the time. But the fact that this is like just a continuation, Hercules, or even The Emperor's New School, like that one, like what the heck? Like, I mean, it's sort of a prequel
Just
and
a
not
completely
really.
different story, but I love the way that they did such a great job of setting it up and introducing you to, this is what we're doing. These are what the experiments are. They're activated. Oops, excuse me. They're activated by water, and you've got to go out there and find them. They're all dangerous. They all, but once you turn them from evil to good, they stay that way. So here, you guys go out and find them and make them good and happy ever after.
Yep. I love I exactly. And the funny thing is I kind of sort of remembered that when I was just rewatching this. It's been a minute since I've rewatched it, but I assume you're very much like me on May the 4th, where I always watch some kind of Star Wars on May the 4th. I feel like, and then
Oh, for
every
sure.
Halloween I always watch Nightmare Before Christmas as we transition from Halloween to Christmas. I gotta imagine you've seen this more recently than I have. I know you've watched it 3 times since you and I
Stitch.
started talking about it.
Yeah, I watched it last night at midnight before I went to bed, and I watched it before we went on the air.
Love that.
I wanted to brush up on it.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. People look to you as a Stitch expert. Obviously, you got to know what you're talking about here. I love that little scene just now that I showed, though, where Stitch is like, okay, there's this big gumball machine of 625, of these Ohana like cousins. I want to dump the whole thing in the bathtub and dehydrate them all at the same time. But they pick one. But what I thought was interesting about that is that when I'm watching it, there's a point in the show where they sort of foreshadow what this particular cousin's job is going to be, and as soon as they foreshadowed it, and again, it's kind of a children's show, but I feel like the smartest adult in the world when I'm like, I know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to do. It's the lighthouse. Yes, I figured it out. I'm so smart.
Yeah, it was such a, it was like having that mini episode of the TV series, like, but just tied into the movie. So you had the setup, and then it just kind of went into a brief episode of the TV show, and then it wrapped it up and sent it into the TV show. It was a very, very nice start to finish. Put a bow on it, and here we're gonna send you out, and here's this new show for you to start watching.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the voices. It's awesome that all of the voices came back. Like, so when I watched the Big Hero 6,
the same, yeah.
Yeah, when I watched the Big Hero 6 TV show that they did, not the Baymax thing, but the Big Hero 6 TV show, like half the voices came back, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, it wasn't like you had De Niro and Streep in the original and you couldn't get them again. But for this one, it's all the same. It's David Chase, it's obviously Chris Sanders, Kevin McDonald as Pleakly, David Ogden Stiers, which, by the way,
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Rest his soul, but he was Jumba and Cogsworth. I mean, come on, that's huge.
Oh, 100%. And he's so funny as Jumba. Like,
Yeah.
every one of his lines as Jumba is just hilarious, and he puts everything into it. And Jumba's probably my second favorite character in the show, and the movies. Like, he's so funny, he's so entertaining. That when Stitch comes in to see him, and he's in there working on his experiments, and he just yells, "Spice!" That one cracks me up every time I see it.
I was thinking of the scene where Pleakly is going through the phone book and he's calling all the numbers starting with A, all the way through, and then he finally gets like the detention cell where Jumba is, and like that to me was also pretty funny. Like him just like answering the phone in the detention cell and just chit chatting with him.
Yeah, Gantu's cell phone. I get it.
Yeah.
And then I
It's
also
that,
love the reference when Nani is out looking for Lilo, and she gets back and David tells her, "Oh, everything's fine," and then it's, "I'm getting you a cell phone." And it kind of takes you
yes.
back to those days when not everybody had cell phones.
Yeah, it was mid 2000s though. Didn't most people have? I don't know. I got to stop for a second, my friend, because we have a super chat from the super chat queen herself. Rosita says, "Hi Rob, thanks for
Oh,
having Jake on. My favorite dude at WDWNT, my fellow Stitch fan." Rosita, thank you so much. Jake, dude, yeah, I mean, he's my favorite dude at WDWNT. I don't blame you. Like, I absolutely. So, this is awesome. I appreciate you giving the super chat. Lots of love for Jake. So, thanks a lot.
thank you,
All right.
Rosita.
Yep. All right. So let's go. Let's go back into the voices again because it just is awesome to me that these folks came back to do the series. Like it wasn't just this movie; it was the whole series. And again, you don't see that in most of the other stuff. Great example is Jim Hanks. Like Jim
Yeah.
Hanks, like was in the Buzz Lightyear Space Rangers that you were talking about. Which, by the way, that show isn't on
Hmm.
Disney Plus. I have no idea why. Um,
Yeah.
it was Buzz Lightyear Star Command, I think is the name of it. But yeah, he was not on there. So it was cool that they all came back. I mean, I don't know what else Tia Carrera had going on. But you know, returning as Nani was a pretty cool thing. And then on top of that, Davi Chase was the creepy girl from The Ring. So if you remember that,
Yes.
um, which I find such a so weird since you know it was such a departure, but obviously she was good at what she did there. Um, Let me see. So again, we talked about Tia Carrera,
Well, and
Chris
then the
Sanders
Ving Rhames was great as
as Cobra.
Cobra Bubbles. He's got that voice, and it's just authoritative, and the fact that he came back and did every film and the TV series, like it's just so cool to have those voices that just remain consistent, because that's one thing that I pick up on whenever you hear a a voice change. Like it just, it instantly gets into my head, and I'm like, it pulls me away from that character,
Yeah.
and it's something that's difficult for me to reconnect once I've learned that character's voice. If it changes, I I just have trouble with it. Same with the, which is what's happening with Kermit right now.
Yeah, yeah, going from Jim Henson to Steve Whitmire to who's doing him now? Somebody who's already existing there. I can't remember who.
I forget the name, but I'm so used to Steve Whitmire. Like when I heard the new voice, it like, oh, who's this? That's not
Right.
Kermit.
Yeah. Hashtag not my Kermit. Is that where you went with that?
Not my
Um,
Kermit. Yes.
yeah. So the only one that wasn't that I know of that was replaced was D. Bradley Baker, who is a phenomenal voice actor. There are a bunch of those guys like Rob Paulson and Frank Welker that are like Disney legends, voice actors that do a ton of different companies and animation and things. But D. Bradley Baker, who is the clones as well in Star Wars, he played David instead of Jason Scott Lee.
Yes.
That kind of
Yeah,
stinks.
they brought him in for. At what point did they bring him in? Was that when they did two?
He
I'm
was
trying to remember.
David, credited as David in the movie, in Stitch the movie. So
Oh,
Jason
was he?
Scott Lee
Okay.
was only in Lilo and
Oh, that's
Stitch.
right. Yes, he was
But
only
then
in the
he
first one.
uh he came back and did that Doogie Kamala whatever it was that they did where it was
Oh,
the
that's
Doogie House.
right.
Yeah, with the Doogie Howser reboot. So he did work for Disney again, but it's just weird that again, of all the people, David Ogden Stiers had the most like opportunity to step out, or Chris Sanders for that matter. The fact that now we would be shocked to hear somebody else as Stitch, obviously, kind of like in the Aladdin sequel when we heard Dan Castellaneta instead of Robin Williams, but.
Yeah.
I feel like, if anybody had a reason, it might be Chris Sanders, but he's in all the episodes, and the
He's
same thing,
stuck with
W.
it.
Chase, and yeah, exactly. So,
He actually posted on TikTok, I think it was yesterday, that talking about that he's the official voice, and he's done everything except for, I think, the Chinese, or
the anime.
was it Stitch? Yeah, the animes. Those were the only ones that he didn't do the dubbing on.
Yeah. Well, it used to be Disney didn't. There was an era where Disney didn't care, like kind of between the Ron Miller and the Michael Eisner, where people they didn't care who did what voice. But obviously now they're pretty consistent about the fact that Bill Farmer is always goofy, and except again, Buzz Lightyear, I think is always Tim Allen, but Woody is sometimes Jim Hanks instead of Tom Hanks. I don't know, a little bit weird. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting that he was the one that didn't come back, but we don't hear a lot from David in most of the stuff anyway. But he's,
Right.
again, D. Bradley Baker is in there like that. So back to this movie, they activate one of the cousins. He runs amok on the island, and then they go and chase him down and capture him. And this is where I think Lilo decides that, as you mentioned, there's like badness in them and we need to flip them. Like, that's our job here, is to flip them and make them all good. But there's that like little showdown, which we had never seen before at this point. It's like a showdown between Stitch and his cousin.
Yes.
And then she traps him in a jar and puts it on the ground. Now, is that scientifically accurate? That you just put a jar on electricity and you've caught it, like
I mean, glass is a decent insulator.
But he could have gone through the ground.
Well, once it gets into the ground, it doesn't go anywhere else.
Okay, you win. I'm totally on board. I just thought that was funny. And then they somehow, I guess they slide the jar all the way home because here it is. They've got him back home, and then he realizes that like they're so alike, and it's adorable.
Maybe he was being nice and not electrifying the ground.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so we're halfway through the show. I wanted to say thank you to everybody who's watching. It's exciting, so exciting to have Jake here on 626 Day. And so if you have not already, please give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. And, tell a friend. Let them know. Jake was on Deep in the Plus, and, everybody's got to watch. However, Jake, if you've ever watched the show, about halfway through, I usually start to ask people trivia questions. So I'm going to give you a choice tonight, my friend. I'm going to give you a choice. You ready? I've got a couple trivia questions, and you'll probably nail them, and that's fine. Or I have 10 of Stitch's cousins from the series that I can show you, and you can tell me if you think you know who they are.
I think I'd rather do the trivia because I am so rusty on the cousins. Although I may or may not have a chart up on my screen, but I'm not gonna.
Well,
I'm not gonna cheat.
That's just cheating. No. Some of them were layups, but there were a couple that I wasn't sure I would get you on. So okay, yeah, all right. Then trivia it is, my friend. Are you ready? It's going to be super easy. Like you won't even, you're not even going to blink. You're just going to go, yep, here it is. You ready? There's a drawing of Gantu. There's a drawing of Gantu in Lilo and Stitch's. I mean, in Lilo and Nani's home, attached to the TV, and he gets to take a look at it. What does the drawing say on it?
Big fatty, isn't it? It's not stupid head. It's and you said this was going to be a layup.
I mean, I kind of thought it was.
It should be. You've got me in front of the camera and the lights, and now my brain's not working.
Oh
Um,
man, I know I totally screwed up. I'm sorry.
it's like Fathead or something like that. I can't remember.
You were close before. A Big Dummy. It just says Big
Big
Dummy.
Dummy.
And then they call him Big Dummy like a couple times afterwards. So that's why I thought maybe
That's
you might, yeah, you might know that one. So anyway, okay. So that's one. When they get into they Lilo and Stitch hot wires. I think is it Jumba's ship that he hot wires, or is it Gantu's ship that he hot wires?
he he hot wires
I know he does
Jumba's
Cobra's
ship,
car. Yeah,
and
Jumba's
then he
ship
does
then.
Cobra's car.
So he hot wires Jumba's ship to start it up, and as he pulls off, it plays. He hits the horn, and it plays what?
La Cucaracha.
Yes, exactly. I figured that would be an easy one for you right there.
Yeah, which
Uh,
that scene makes me think that Stitch is definitely a tech guy. He
yeah.
rewires things. So yeah, like I said, spirit animal. It's right over my shoulder.
Yes, he is your spirit animal. Um, there was they go to they track down their cousin to a hotel. What is the name of the hotel?
Birds of Paradise.
Yes. Why do you know that, dude? Why?
Because that was one I was like, oh, there's a question that Rob is going to ask me.
I hate when people get my number. I hate it. That's fine. Yes, exactly. Um, okay.
Also, a
Uh,
beautiful flower.
yes, there you go. The you ready for this one? The phone book that Pleakly pulls up is
The
called
periwinkle
what?
pages.
Again, I'm yes, like you absolutely should have known all of those. Here's the last one, my friend. And again, I didn't do too many because I knew any that I did you would rock. Who sings the theme song that is the title song for Stitch the series and ends the movie?
Jump 5.
Look at that, just like that, boom, nailed
I
it.
I
You
have
nailed
their
it
album
because of the song.
because of that song, and because I have the original soundtrack as well. They did can't help falling in love on the first movie soundtrack.
Yeah. Wow, very well done, my friend. I knew you would nail it. I knew you would. The intergalactic periwinkle pages, I wasn't sure about that, but I figured you would get it. In the chat, David Lung said yellow pages. Rosita said the what pages? Yep. Care Bear said love the music from Stitch from Jump 5. Ronald said what's a phone book? There we go. Okay. Um,
That's those
just
things that Hämsterviel stood on
yeah,
and make them
exactly.
taller.
Just for fun, let me show you a couple of these cousins, and let's see. Don't look at your screen. You got into that
That
one,
is Sparky. He's
right?
over my shoulder here on my
Okay.
lamp.
Okay.
That one I do not remember.
That one is Richter because he was from the
Okay.
very first episode. What about this one?
No.
Hunka Hunka?
No, I really we're gonna have to watch the series a couple more times and then we'll review it on here. I don't
You
remember
know
him
this one.
either.
You know this one.
I know him. That's
Who's that?
Ruben.
Yeah.
His day was
Uh,
yesterday.
oh, right, because yesterday was 625. Okay, so every day
Yeah,
is
he
going to be
has all
something.
He has all the traits of 626, but with advanced language capabilities. But he's a lazy coward and makes great sandwiches.
Boom. Yes, exactly. As if from the movie, as if you've seen it a bunch of times. I think you know this one too, right?
I don't know that one
Oh,
actually.
Felix. Well, and again, you know this one.
Of course, that's Angel number
Yeah.
624.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, maybe you made the right call. You clearly made the right call, even though you had some stuff up on your screen and all that. But I just wanted you to be ready. I wanted to give you options. So there you go. So let's get back into the movie a little bit. The Galactic Federation. So Hämsterviel has captured Jumba and will not give Jumba back until they get all the experiments. And so they meet up with him, and they're missing one. And at that point, they're missing Sparky. But
Right.
so they're missing one. Were these, because I'm starting to watch the series, were these supposed to be something that Jumba made for Hämsterviel? Because it makes it sound like they're his. Or am I wrong?
I think I'm trying to remember what movie they addressed that in. I think it's in was it Leroy and Stitch? Uh, I'm trying to remember what exactly the backstory was. I want to say like uh, Jumba and Hämsterviel were like in college together or something like that, and they decided to create these experiments. I'd have to watch it again. I'm pretty sure it's in Leroy and Stitch because I watched two the other day, and I don't think it was in that.
Gotcha.
Um, so I'm pretty sure it's in Leroy and Stitch. I need to watch again. I haven't seen it in a couple years.
Okay. But he wants all the experiments. They don't have Sparky, but then they end up giving him all. But the intergalactic, um, why did I lose it? The Galactic Federation comes out of the
Galactic
water.
Federation.
The Galactic Federation comes out of the water, which was really weird. Um, and I thought
Yes.
that was kind of random that they did. It's just like, hey, Cobra has convinced Lilo and Stitch that he has a plan, but actually not convinced Lilo because she kind of blows the plan. But the plan was they give everything to Hämsterviel, almost like a drug deal. Like once the money has changed hands, then they bring in the FBI or the SWAT team and they get him. And that's but this huge ship slowly rising out of the water. Um, you know, was very interesting to
Yeah.
me that they've got that kind of relationship with the Galactic Federation. The
I love the I love when Hämsterviel is rolling away the container and is yelling at the Grand Councilwoman, and her face just changes, and she just looks down at her control operators and just tells them prepare to fire. Just the way that her voice changes, just like, hey, you know what?
yeah.
Prepare to fire, and then those giant laser cannons come out.
Yeah, I have a question about that in a second, but first, I love this scene, and so I wanted to cue this up where they've stolen Bubbles' car, Cobra Bubbles' car, and they've got their like cool glasses on, and they're just like you see them rolling, like oh my gosh, it's just so
Oh, and
funny.
with the Peter Gunn theme, it's so perfect.
Yeah,
It's just
I almost
that
was.
wonderful little montage that they did. They did a scene like that as well in one. It was with the Devil in Disguise montage, and that's one of the other fun things about the movie is that they kind of throw back to some of those bits that they did in the first movie. It's just kind of these little tropes that they put into each of the movies that kind of makes it all feel cohesive um, and one story, uh, and it kind of gives you that familiarity throughout.
Yeah, I agree. I almost was going to ask you as a trivia question all of the things that hit the reflection of the windshield. Uh, like I
I
was like, nah.
I thought that might be coming. I was watching it last night and I was like, I should maybe memorize these, but didn't end up doing it. It was too late.
Yeah. No,
Shame ice.
yeah, I thought
I
I thought
remembered
that
that
was
one.
yeah, I thought that was going to be a little bit too much, but anyway, so when the Galactic Federation comes out of the water, then they finally decide to like I guess let um they capture Hämsterviel eventually, and with the help of Sparky and with Lilo and Stitch and everybody get together and they go and they go out and they get they're going to get the cousins back, and then Gantu puts his arm out the window and all of the gumballs fall out. But luckily, most of them don't fall into water. They're sitting somewhere waiting for the series, which is again brilliant.
Yes.
Um, and
Yes.
so then the ambassador just says, "Okay, we're just gonna have to like demolish this planet. We're done. It's over." And they're like, "No, we'll find them." And so she goes, "Okay." Like,
It's just, oh yeah, no, that sounds good. Perfect.
yep, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I love the belly button was one of the holding
one of the
places
places where
for
it fell.
one of the experiments. Yeah.
So
Like
something
it,
I don't,
and then it just gets tossed into the pool.
yeah, something I don't understand about the way that it ends is that we meet like they let loose several of them that go into the water, and so there are some cousins who are loose already.
Yes.
But yet when the series starts, Gantu has, and maybe this is more of a conversation for the series, but Gantu has the gumball machine, I keep calling it, and it will tell him when cousins are activated, and so then he
When they
goes
get
to hunt for
activated,
them.
yeah.
Yeah. But yet
I'm
there's
trying to
like,
remember if there's. I'm sorry. I keep hearing the delay. But I want to say maybe there's a couple of the episodes that don't start that way, that they were already out. Um, I'm not sure. And again, we'll have to watch it and we'll do another episode on that.
yay. But I love that it's like, raining these things down onto, but they're all not falling in the water, even though this is like, there couldn't be a more water busy place than Hawaii, but yet they fall into all of these random places. Although at the end, as we know, most of these are all activated. I love that's kind of roulette there. Here's the belly button one that you were talking about.
I love
I think,
Jumba's line on that. The I can't remember the beginning of it, but I remember it ends is very good. All the experiments getting released, and then
uh,
Pleakly, no, it's very bad.
no, it's fun. So again, at the very end, all of them fall into water and end up becoming something. So there are at least four of them we know that are on the loose when the show ends. But clearly, when the movie ends, they know the series is coming. I mean, it was already all set up. Animation is very much the same. The actors are the same throughout. So yeah, it was really neat the way that they put all this in place and get us ready for the series.
Yeah, Lilo and Stitch are going to be busy catching all those cousins.
So that's basically how it ends. Again, it's an hour and 4 minutes. It's basically the setup and the explanation for what's going to be coming our way in Stitch the series. Let's back up a second though and talk about Stitch again, because it's it's 626 day. It's Stitch Day. I feel like, and Jake, you're not going to disagree with me on this, I feel like they're wasting this IP. I feel like that
Oh, 100%.
they merchandise it, and we've got a couple things here and there. You've got to walk around. I mean, Stitch walks around. I know that during the Run Disney race that I did, not during the race I did, which was the 10K, but during the 5K, they had some of the cousins out for meet and greet. Why don't they do that all the time? Like, that's ridiculous. There should be some Stitch area of some park where we get to see Stitch, or have a Stitch dark ride, or a scavenger hunt. Like that's what this is. It's a scavenger
Yeah.
hunt, and Disney loves scavenger hunts, right? Like you've got the
Oh,
Pirates
for sure.
one, and you had the Sorcerer of the Magic Kingdom, and you've got the, the Spike the Bee one, and you've got the Remy one, and like all these. Like, why not do like the little balls and have them like hidden all over the Magic Kingdom? And you got like the Pizza Planet trucks at Disneyland for Pixar Fest. Like, why not? It's right there.
Oh yeah, do it like the DuckTales or Kim Possible adventure, and you go around and you have to find an experiment pod, and do it all on your cell phone, and then at the end you end up with one of the little pods. Just have a little dispenser that somehow
And
drops
you
it
could do
into
it.
a little small water source that the guests can get to, and then they pull it out.
That would be, I mean, again, it
Like,
seems like it's
be
right
fun.
freaking there. And then like attraction wise, we had we had Stitch's Great Escape at the Magic Kingdom for a while. It ended about 6.5 years ago. They shuttered it. Did you think that I feel like they done Stitch dirty with that attraction? I feel like there were better things for Stitch out there.
I mean, I enjoyed it just because it had Stitch, and I just, I support my boy, but the I know that it wasn't popular, and I know that it was upsetting. Apparently, the kids were still getting upset by it and still scared of the dark, which I kind of understand. Um,
Yeah.
and I guess it just it didn't work, much to my chagrin.
I loved that animatronic. I thought that was great. And then when you would come
Oh,
in and he was right
he was
there,
spectacular.
yeah. I
And
thought
then
that was
the laser cannons,
yes,
those
the
laser
laser
cannons
cannons
when
that
they
would
would
follow you
come
around.
down and start moving around, they were incredible.
Don't disagree. I loved that. So and then there's a Tokyo Disneyland attraction that has it's their tiki room has Stitch in it.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I've heard that it's the worst attraction that Disney's ever made, but that I would enjoy it.
Hey, here's something that sucks you'd
It's the
enjoy.
review that I've gotten.
Here's something that is the worst ever you would like. Yeah, that would make sense. Again, I don't know. I just feel like, we just got a Mickey Mouse ride, right? Like, there hasn't been a Mickey Mouse ride until Mickey's Runaway Railway, although there was, like, the Mickey Mouse Review, and there have been some other, like, salutes too, but we just basically got a Mickey Mouse ride. So maybe Stitches got a place in the future, but they have so much IP to work with, but it feels like a lot of the IP that they're working with is the stuff that they've purchased, the Pixar IP and the Star Wars IP and the Marvel IP, which I love all of them, but I would love to
Yeah.
see something like a dark ride for Stitch. I want a dark ride for everything, but but a
Oh,
dark
for
ride for
sure.
Stitch would be very cool to have. One of the things I have a question about back to Stitch's Great Escape is these two characters who are running the board in the Galactic Star Cruiser here, if I may call it that. Um,
Mhm.
aren't they the ones that was like it's a planet called Earth? Like,
Yes, and I can't remember if their names ever came out or not. I know that there was a pin that got released a few days ago, and we were looking everywhere to see if we could find the names of the characters, but couldn't find them. I don't know that some of those secondary characters ever got their names released.
yeah. Well, again, it feels like the same characters that we got to see, which would make sense in the Stitch Has a Glitch. I mean, in the Stitch's Great Escape. Um, but the other thing that I thought was interesting is that when Hämsterviel is on his ship, he's going to transport Lilo off of his ship, and this feels a lot like the Skippy situation that they had at
I thought the same thing.
yeah, like, transporting through these tubes. And maybe that's all by design. Did one inspire the other? I don't know. Um, but I just
Which I
assumed
also have
everything
to
is.
say, I love the computer voice. That it's just kind of a smart aleck. Like it when it comes on and it says that it transmitted the baloney order, and then it goes into transporting little girl, and then in 3 2, and he pulls the lid up. But then also every time that Gantu will say something, and then the computer will come in and repeat it back to him, and he grumbles, and uh, the computer voice is very funny.
Yeah, agree. But I look at that stuff and I'm just like, this is it's cool that they intertwine them, because I feel like there should be more of that connecting to the attractions in the parks, and it feels like these were done together, kind of like Dinosaur was supposed to be, hand in hand with Countdown to Extinction. So we had Aladar in it, same as the Dinosaur the movie. And that's an Eisner era kind of a thing. I wish there was more of that. One of the other things they do is that they have some meet and greet characters that I think we hardly ever see. Like, we'll see Lilo every now and then. Usually it's just
Yeah.
Stitch that we see. Have you run into these fellas anywhere?
I've seen Pleakly. I have a picture with Pleakly. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And I've also seen Angel. Uh, and I got really lucky with those. They were at a special event at uh, Typhoon Lagoon,
Ah.
and I literally only went over there to see them. Um,
Because again, I mean, this shows that
they're
people
not.
still care about this stuff. Look at this one. Look at this picture.
Oh yeah. When I saw that, I was like, I didn't know that they had all of those, and I would love to see all of them.
But I mean, that seems like an easy enough thing to do. But there's five cousins right there. I mean, obviously, Angel's there, Felix, 627, Sparky. So, and then I forget what the sample is the one with the speakers. But again, this is, I feel like there should be more Stitch. We have so much merch. Everything has, again, I have a Vinylmation here because 626 Vinylmation. We talked about all the stuff you've got. There's a lot of merch. Everything that comes out, every
Yeah,
line has something Stitch. Why aren't we seeing more Stitch in the parks? Oh my gosh. Is that the
just
puppet?
it is. He
I thought
he
you weren't
just
going to open
showed
him.
up. Oh, I did. I couldn't resist.
Yes.
He's just so
Look
darn
at the
cute.
Yes. Now
And
you need to learn to be able to match the voice and maybe do a little ventriloquist act that you could bring on to News Tonight.
yeah, yeah, we can start practicing that, I think.
Yeah, you guys can get on that. All right, so I want to thank everybody for watching. We've done our summary of the movie. Before we go any further, I want to give a shout out to our wigs, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. We love our wigs. Thank you guys so much for
Wigs.
being a part of the WDWNT family. If you want to learn more about it, go to patreon.com/WDWNT. Also, we have a lot more Deep in the Plus coming up soon. So last week, Shannon and I did Monsters University. This week, it's me and Jake doing Stitch the movie. Next week, it'll be a patriotic one on July 3rd with the Liberty story. Stephanie's coming on to talk about that. The ever-tweening Patrick Hackett will be on to talk about The Descendants, and then Desi will be on to talk about Epcot Becoming. We'll probably do that as a watch-along because it's finally dropping on DisneyPlus. But don't forget, Park Center last Sunday, Park Center next Sunday. Join us on Park Center Sunday nights at 9 p.m. We'd love to have you, where we talk about all things Disney parks in 60 minutes or less is always the goal. Sometimes we go 65, 70, but last week was an exception because we had so much to cover. We'll be talking about the new foods that hit Sleepy Hollow. We'll be talking about the new foods that dropped for Tiana's Bayou Adventure that Jake's going to go to the parks and try. Tiana's Bayou Adventure will be open. And then, of course, the big news that dropped about the changes to the Genie Plus program. So please join us for Park Center. Exactly. So here we go. Jake, this is your first time on the show, but I think you know how this works. We've talked about the movie. We've talked about its connection to the interconnected Lilo and Stitch universe. We talked about the park stuff, and now on Stitch's big day, 626 Day, the people want to know, Jake Woods, would you recommend this movie?
Absolutely. How could I not? I'd be doing Stitch a disservice if I said no, so I'm going to say yes, absolutely. Go and watch it.
Okay. I agree with you. And like I said, I feel like that there needs to be more Stitch. I feel like that this storyline was brilliant. You can watch just this movie and be done. But I think once you watch the movie, you'll want to go in and watch the series. But I think most people stop at Lilo and Stitch and don't realize that there were all these straight to DVD specials that came on to came out around the time. And again, there's a lot of Lilo and Stitch on DisneyPlus. It's all at your fingertips now. You don't even have to go buy the clamshell. So you've got the original movie and this one, which is Stitch the movie, and the series, and then Stitch 2, and then Leroy and Stitch. And let's hope that at some point they come up with some even more stories for Stitch aside from the live action movie. But I don't see a reason for the live action movie, Jake. So tell me, what are your thoughts on the live action movie? Is that something you want in your life? Like, I feel like Peter Pan and Wendy didn't do it for me. I feel like the Lady and the Tramp kind of fell a little short. So I'm afraid of what might happen with Stitch, that he may look like Sonic. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
When I heard that they were doing it, my immediate reaction was excitement that we're getting another Lilo and Stitch story, or at least film, even if it is the same story. I don't know, but then I was just like, gotta be cautious. Like, I've not been impressed by some of the live action movies in the past. I don't actually know that there's been one that I highly regarded. Which doesn't bode well for it, but I'm trying to stay optimistic that it's got a great cast. I've seen the cast, and I've seen some pictures from the sets, and it looks cool. I mean, obviously we haven't seen Stitch. That's the bread and butter, and that's gonna make or break the movie. So I hope they get it right. They just have to.
There's a different Nani, but Tia Carrera is coming back to be another character in it.
Yes, I forget the name. I looked it up
Mrs.
earlier.
Kakoa is what it looks like. I could be saying that wrong. Jason Scott Lee's coming back. I don't know if he's going to be David or not, but he's coming back for this one, which, again, a little bit weird. Chris Sanders, Courtney B. Vance as Cobra Bubbles, and then Zach Galifianakis as Jumba. So he could probably really screw that up. So I hope that he doesn't. I love a lot of his stuff, but we'll see how he fits into this into this world.
The moment that I heard that Chris Sanders was coming back as the voice, I was like, okay, we got one part done. Now we just got to get the characterization correct. So please do a good job.
Yep. Yes, agree. Well, again, thank you everyone who came. Ronald said what Jake just said. So thank you guys for being here and hanging out with us tonight on what's a really special night for me, Jake. I appreciate it. I know that I've kind of alluded to you coming on and talking about Lilo and Stitch before, and you're like, let me get back to you. Let me think about it. I know you're more of a behind the camera kind of guy, but dude, no one else should ever be on talking about Lilo and Stitch, I think, moving forward other than you. So thank you for doing this. Hopefully we can do the series down the road. What do you got?
Gonna go coconut cake. And coffee.
Coconut cake and coffee. Ah, perfect. Perfect. I missed even saying that line. That's awesome. But again, thank you guys for being here. Hopefully you'll join us next week for Deep, and hopefully you'll join us for Park Center on Sunday nights. We still have a lot of live content here for you on WDWNT TV. So again, Jake, thank you so much. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Oh, it was
Talk
fun.
to you soon. Yay!
Bye, guys.
He liked it. Y'all have a great week. We'll see you next time.